Hello, I'm Super Orange Cat, and I'm here with Toonami's ratings from August 17th, 2019. Let's start at the top of the block. Dragon Ball Super pulls in a .37 this week. Genlock pulls in a .25. Fire Force pulls in a .23. Lupin the Third Part 5 pulls in a .19. Food Wars brings in a .20. Black Clover at a .19. Boruto at a .15. His Father at a .14. Gundam at a .14, and My Hero Academia rounding off the block at a .15. In general, this was an amazing week ratings-wise for the block. I think nearly half the block got over a .2. If you add in shows that got a .9, that's 6 of the 10 shows. Overall, this is an amazing week, and it really just started with the top of the block. Dragon Ball Super, that .37 is the best it's gotten, I'll say at least like 15, 20 weeks. And naturally, we have a number that high, everything after it's going to be high too. Genlock is starting to turn into a surprise hit for me. It's at a .25 this week. With that number, I thought this was going to flop early in the block. It really didn't seem like it was going to have that much overlap with Toonami fan base, especially with the general, and I still hold this to be true, very poor animation Genlock has. And also, I think if Genlock continues being this well regarded, continues getting these high numbers, don't be surprised if we get more Rooster Teeth shows to Toonami in the future. So I don't think Ruby's going to be on because there's a lot of weird issues with the length of the episodes, but Red versus Blue is possible. I mean, and there's another show that apparently some people in Rooster Teeth are working on that let's keep it nameless. Everyone knows what it is. It's a very infamous show. It hasn't even aired yet, but some people at Rooster Teeth are working on it. I believe it's more of a Crunchyroll production. Let's just hope that doesn't get on. Let's hope if we get Rooster Teeth, it's Red versus Blue. That one's actually kind of a decent show, so maybe we get that in the future. And then just other numbers. Lupin the Third, we already know it's getting sent to the Gulag next week. It's gonna be, I believe, 3:30 next week when Dr. Stone comes to the block. And you could point out, say, it's a .19. It's a great number this week. Like, yeah, but it got built on by Food Wars. Like, if you get built on, odds are it's because you're in a slot that's too early for you. And that's going to be the case here for Loop on the Third Part 5. And as much as I love this show, I definitely understand and actually agree that it should be moved back later in the block. And again, like I said, Food Wars, .2. It can hold a .2. That's something a lot of people didn't think possible when it was first announced to the block. And then afterwards, you had Black Clover. I've been told that it was a training episode last week. I don't know about this week, but I guess it's not like a tournament episode because it did finish. It didn't build on its show before it, and Black Clover has, like I said, a great history of building on the show before it. So, otherwise. And also, if you had to say there's a down spot this week, it's probably Boruto because it's dropped 400s from .19 to a .15, the show before it to a .15. And although for what Boruto was historically playing at 2 o'clock, this is actually a decent number, it looks bad, especially considering Boruto way back when was the follow-up after Dragon Ball Super, occasionally pulled in a .3. And that's just it's just still at the same time, stuff like this is why Boruto didn't get sent back up with the new schedule, and why overall the changes to his schedule were actually quite minimal. Also, it just again, My Hero Academia building at the end of the block. Although you can argue it gets a bit of an inflation because of a DVR bump because of the whole how Nielsen treats shows after 3 a.m., giving it an extra day for DVR purposes, so it's possibly slightly inflated. At the same time, I mean, you're at 3:30 in the morning. A .15 is a great number for that consideration. And in general, I'm curious to see what happens next week with Dr. Stone. And really, overall, it looks like every move, especially the ones I've criticized Toonami for doing, end up being vindicated with this block right now. End up being having been vindicated. Like I said, Genlock, that's stupid. Now it's getting good numbers. Fire Force, I was actually excited for. Food Wars, I'm like, I like this show, but I wasn't so sure about its ratings. It appears to be doing very well in the ratings with its .2. And I'm just surprised, but at the same time, I'm curious to see what happens next week. We have Dr. Stone coming to the block. It will air at midnight, and the only schedule change is that everything gets shifted back 30 minutes. with the exception of Lupin that gets sent all the way to 3:30. So Gundam, I believe, actually will still be at 3 o'clock. And My Academia will be in a rerun starting in the middle of season 3, and that will be airing at 4 a.m. So I'm interested. If I had to just throw a guess out for what Dr. Stone is going to pull next week, I'm going to say a .22. I only say that's like it's lower than Fire Force this week. Why would you say that? Especially considering just how absolutely well received Dr. Stone generally has been. I would argue the biggest anime of summer 2019, at least based on reception. I because just like I said, naturally Toonami do have these ebbs and flows in its ratings where you can't count on Dragon Ball Super always pointing in that high a number, and if it numbers drop by some old tiny bit, everything drops by a tiny bit too. You know, so I would expect like Dragon Ball Super pulling like a .35, .34 next week, and everything to kind of go down a couple hundreds. I mean, so that seems like a good number to me. I was almost spot on with Genlock's premiere. I said .18, and actually its first episode was a .17. That's another thing about Genlock. It's built. It was like .17, it went to .20, and now it's a .25. And that's always a great thing to see early in a show's run. It keep building like this. I think you could say the same also about Fire Force. I think Food Wars too. Food Wars had grown much slower, but it's definitely a very notable trend that Food Wars is increasing its number every single week. So, will this continue next week? Will we see this many .2s? Will we see these many shows in the upper teens? I don't know. What do you guys think? Leave your comments, leave your guesses down below. What do you think Dr. Stone's going to debut at? Appreciate support. If you want this, if you want more Toonami ratings, Toonami news content like this, please subscribe. Please hit that notification button, and of course, hit the like button for this video. I am Super Orange Cat, and that is all.